Howdy there. So yesterday I watched Machete for the second time. I saw it in the theater, and I watched it yesterday on cable, on a movie channel, uninterrupted, HD, and so forth. I thought it was okay. I liked it better in the theater. I think I'll go ahead and give it a 6. I mean, I had a decent time, but my memory was greater than my second experience. It's about a ex-Mexican federale. He's a badass. He sees his wife killed before him by his arch nemesis. He then disappears into America several years later, and basically, by happenstance, the bad guys picked the wrong Mexican, and, Machete basically unravels a huge government-wide conspiracy, American government conspiracy to basically eliminate illegal aliens. And Machete basically throws a wrench into their plans. Let's see, stars Danny Trejo. He's Machete. It's got Michelle Rodriguez, Jessica Alba, Lindsay Lohan, Jeff Fahey, Robert De Niro, Steven Seagal, Cheech Marin. That's about all I can come up with. Big cast, big ensemble cast. Don Johnson's in there. Introducing Don Johnson. Lots of big cast, and everyone has, a certain amount of fun with their characters. You can tell that, it's not taken too seriously. I think that's what I, missed about it, is, I saw it in the theater, and I can say that the crowd that I saw it with was primarily Hispanic, and everyone had a really good time. I can remember that some people did walk out, because I guess, if you're old-fashioned, it's going to be seen as racist, and of course this is very bloody. But anyway, there's, it does walk a fine line where it could offend you on many levels. It just, I didn't have as much fun with it as I did in the theater. I thought it was maybe, just a little too boring. I got bored, while watching the film. So, I didn't remember getting too bored. I gave the theatrical experience a 7, so I'm still wasn't like blown away by it, but still, I had much less fun this go around, and I noticed that it, took itself maybe a little too seriously at some points. It stops having fun for brief periods of time to make a point. It seemed to be uneven a little bit, had me going and then made me stop. The violence is outlandish, and certainly if you are a fan of gratuitous, nonsensical violence, then you will be a fan of this film. That's probably what made me watch it, is I'm a big fan of the cartoonish violence and gore. And Robert Rodriguez, who, let's see, co-wrote, edited, scored, produced, and co-directed the film. He's very good at that. I can't think of the other name who co-wrote and co-directed it, or why Robert Rodriguez just didn't do everything himself. I think because Machete began life as a trailer in between the features in Grindhouse, the Rodriguez-Tarantino joint production. Machete began life there, and I was wondering if perhaps that was written and directed, the fake trailer, was written and directed by the guy who co-wrote and directed this. I'm not sure. That's my guess, though. But, you know, and maybe that's why it wasn't as slick and as fast-paced as most Rodriguez films are. You know, it did stop and start for a little while, so maybe that's just trying to appease another artist. You know, a compromise, if you will. The film looked okay. It looked kind of the same. Every scene pretty much looked the same. Lots of oranges, lots of yellows, lots of, you know, just kind of a, well, I mean, very much a kind of a Rodriguez feel. It reminded me very much of the look of Once Upon a Time in Mexico, another Robert Rodriguez film. I thought the music was kind of flat. The music never really did anything for me. In fact, I was kind of blaming the music for lulling me to sleep. I mean, I got drowsy watching this movie. And I don't think you should get drowsy in a movie where hundreds of people die in explosive fashion. So I was kind of blaming the music for that, just like this monotonous, not even mariachi style guitar, but just kind of a rock, again, very much a Rodriguez sound. Because he does, I think, primarily all of the scores to his films. I mean, it's okay, you know. I enjoyed De Niro. You could tell De Niro really enjoyed getting the paycheck and being able to cut loose with just some scenery chewing. I'm a big fan of Steven Seagal. In his heyday, he was like my favorite mindless action, you know, gratuitous, violent superhero cop. He was my favorite out of, let's see, who was in that generation? Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal, who else is in there? There's got to be more. I was going to say Don the Dragon Wilson. I didn't want to lump him in. He was around that age. It was basically the action hero class after Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Willis, the guys who followed them up. Seagal was my favorite. I really like his style. I don't know what martial art he's like a master of. I don't know, but it's like where you use your opponent's mass and momentum against them. So you make like subtle, slight movements and like you're throwing them around. But he was always my favorite, and you know, he's Steven Seagal here. He's gotten really fat, which is fine. I think that makes him all the more funnier. He's good here. He's Steven Seagal, and you know, whatever. I like watching him. Let's see, all of the actors. It's a big cast. Even like the secondary actors or character actors that you recognize. So it's got a lot of recognizable faces. And again, they all bring their A game. They all want to have a good time. You know, they probably had a good time making this movie. I wish that it kind of translated more to what you see on the screen. But that's, you know, what it is. You know, again, as far as writing goes, it's very simple. It's, you know, basically every action movie cliche there is, you know, is in here. But it's, you know, nicely executed. Again, it just seemed like uneven, and I know this sounds ridiculous, but I could have used a little more out of Danny Trejo. I mean, what he gives is great. He's good at making that face and being Danny Trejo, being that badass. I could have used some more emotion from him. I mean, he has some terrible things happen to him, and I wish we saw him crack a little more. I wish there was some unhinged insanity behind that gruff exterior. That would have, you know, made me happier. But again, he's very good. You know, it's just the writing. I wish, you know, everything could have been fleshed out more, less herky-jerky with trying to make a point, and just more fun, you know. I don't know if they're going to make a sequel to this. The credits say that there will be 2 sequels. You know, I don't know if that's wishful thinking or just going with that grindhouse theme. But, you know, I don't know. I would probably sign up for another Machete film. You know, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, you've probably seen it. It's been out for a while. But you know, I enjoyed it much more in the theater. I had a lot better time watching it with a lot of people, especially Mexican people. You know, that was fun as well. So just watching it at home by myself, more boring than I remember, and whatever. The special effects were okay, you know, and the character's a little bit one note, but you know, it's fine. I had an okay time, and you know, any movie where body parts are being hacked off every 5 seconds with a large machete, then you know, whatever. You can't be having too bad of a time. So I guess that's all I've got to say about that. That's Machete, and I'll give it a 6 for the second go around. Thanks.